unprecedented level of danger and chaos.
NBC went on to reveal that Trump was aware of the threat of sleeper cell activation before the strikes on Iran, but continued anyway. They said, Iran sent a communique to Trump in the days before last night's strike on its nuclear facilities, threatening to activate sleeper cell terror inside the United States if it were attacked. The message got to Trump through an intermediary at the Group of Seven summit in Canada last week, which Trump left early June 16 to consider his options amid the conflict between Israel and Iran, according to sources who include 2 US officials and a person with knowledge of the threat. But threats of homegrown retaliation are not affecting Donald Trump, with the president only reacting with more strength and stronger threats against Iran. He said, any retaliation by Iran against the United States of America will be met with force far greater than what was witnessed tonight. And despite Trump's tough talking, many Americans are frightened at the threat of sleeper cell activation, which Tom Homan brutally blames on Joe Biden.
Can you assess that issue particularly? How many Iranians are in the country that are in sleeper cells trying to do bad to America right now?
Well, look, you and I have talked about this many times. I said the last 4 years, my biggest concern was this open border was the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen. So I pulled numbers this morning just from a CBP under Joe Biden. There was 1,272 nationals of Iran released in the country between OFO and the Border Patrol. And you compare that to the Trump administration, zero. Right, 0 releases. And right now, because of President Trump's leadership, we have the most secure border in my lifetime, most secure border in the history of this nation. So we have a secure border. So that was President Trump's big win on securing this nation. So we're not releasing people in this country, especially interest aliens aren't crossing that border undetected. But under Joe Biden, we had over 10 million people cross that border. But my biggest concern from day one, beyond the fentanyl, beyond the sex trafficking of women and children, were the 2 million known gotaways. Over 2 million people crossed that border. We don't know who they are, where they came from, because they got away, because Border Patrol is so overwhelmed with the humanitarian crisis that Biden created that over 2 million people crossed the border and got away. That is my biggest concern, and that's what created the biggest national security vulnerability this country's ever seen.
Commentator Valentina Gomez agreed.
Joe Biden and his administration allowed thousands of terrorists into American soil. I hope I'm wrong, but it is a matter of time until Iran activates sleeper cells in America. Stay armed, stay vigilant, and neutralize any threat before you get neutralized.
This is 2 Corinthians 2:11. Satan should get an advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices. So we can see the stage is being set, for them to possibly, do a FF event, which would lead to more censorship, lockdowns, people losing, their so-called rights, and, troops on the street, and, pretty much everything that these devils already want to do. First and foremost, before I get started, I want to thank Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. And I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi Bahasham Rakakadash. I want to give double honors to the apostles and the elders of GMS who teach and rule well, who taught me this truth. Salutations, brothers and sisters that are out there listening and learning, fighting this good fight of faith. And salutation, my fellow brethren that are pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. To you all, I want to say shalom. And hope and pray that this lesson be edifying to the elect. So, as different brothers have been going into, this situation with, Babylon and Iran, Babylon, striking different nuclear facilities over there in Iran, it really seems like this is all being staged. I just speaking as a man, but looking at how everything's playing out, major event would indeed could be used to bring in all of these censorship and ultimately the emerald to the TV, So real quick before I get into some of these articles, let's get what is a sleeper cell, right? So I just asked Google, and this is a definition. It says a sleeper cell refers to a clandestine group of individuals, often T's or spies, who live within a target society, seemingly as ordinary citizens, while remaining dormant or inactive until activated for a specific mission. They blend into the population, maintaining normal lives to avoid detection until their handlers activate them for attacks, intelligence gathering, or clandestine activities, right? So, as 2 Corinthians 2:11, let's Satan should get advantage of us, for we are not ignorant of his devices, man. Because I was thinking about why would they have the border open like that? Why weren't they turning back people? Why were they allowing or showing on the media, hundreds and hundreds of people just coming in willy-nilly, telling the border patrol they couldn't do anything? But now that here we are in with Trump and all these different things that are happening, people already are aware that there's a massive amount of people that just came in and they don't know where they're at. So that in itself, problem, reaction, solution, right? The problem is all these people, the borders are talking about, that was his greatest fear since Biden, and now all of a sudden here we are, this back and forth with Iran, and there's a possibility of Iranians in the country, they're saying, right, as sleeper cells. So now they're getting the reaction of the people. People are afraid, and all these things. So then that would justify, if there was an event, because now the stage is set for an event to happen, and then they could use the excuse of, oh, we don't know who everybody is, we don't know where they are, blah 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 blah. So we're gonna have to lock it all down and surveil everybody and all that. So I asked, matter of fact, let's get another scripture. Let me get what's the scripture I'm thinking about? It's Ephesians 6:11. Put on the whole armor of the Most High, that you may be able to stand against the wiles of the devil. Right? The methods, the tricks and schemes and deception, So we're very well aware of what these devils are up to. So I asked ChatGPT, what would happen to American citizens if the government thought that sleeper cells were in the country? And that's what it says. It says, if the U.S. government believed that sleeper cells, i.e. covert operatives or T agents waiting for orders to act, were present in the country, several actions could be taken, most of them focused on national security, intelligence gathering, and law enforcement. Here's what might happen and how it could affect American citizens. And the first one is increased surveillance. Targeted intelligence agencies like the FBI and NSA would likely increase surveillance on suspected individuals or groups. Broader monitoring. There could also be increased electronic surveillance, data mining, and social media monitoring across the general population. Now that when I read that, that's what made me think about this article from a few days ago, from the People's Voice. It says Obama calls for digital censorship to regain control of the internet. Only approved facts, quote unquote, allowed. Right? So the internet has been a major tool in bringing the rise of Israel coming back to remembrance, doing the heavy lifting, as the apostles always mention. And it also at the same time has brought a lot of exposure to these devils, man. As the scriptures say, then shall that wicked be revealed, the son of perdition. In a major way, through the spirit and power of Yahawah Bahasham Yahawashi was through the unicorn, man, through the internet. You know, the scriptures say that this word will be. Let's get it. And then the answer from this word shall be preached. I think that's how it's. Yep. Matthew 24:14. And this gospel of the kingdom shall be preached in all the world for a witness unto all nations, and then shall the end come. So this word has gone throughout the four corners of the earth, man. Everybody knows about the Israelites, man. Everybody has heard it. So that's how we know. One of the many ways that we know that this place is, and these devils are almost out of here, man. So that's why, you know, we and brothers have spoken about it. You know, they have to do away with the internet, you know, and that's how they would the family of the word would start to come, because they've already spoken about having you know, these digital IDs, and you know, basically for the internet, you know, they want people not to have anonymity. Like, they want everybody to be known, and the comments that they make online directly linked to them in the real world, so they can have real world consequences, and that would be another form of control, man. You know, like he said right here, regain control of the internet, because they want to be able to censor things. They want to you know, block people from saying things, block other people from seeing certain things, so they can control the narrative, because they have lost control of the narrative, and they're trying to regain it. But every time they bring something out, people are exposing them, you know, constantly. Let's see. This is Proverbs 28:15. As a roaring lion and a raging bear, so is a wicked ruler over the poor people, man. So they're just coming down with great wrath, because they know that they have but a short time, man, and it's only going to continue to get worse. So this is number 2. It says heightened security measures at borders and airports, tighter screenings, more questions during entry, exit, and delays in cities, more visible law enforcement presence, possibly National Guard deployment if the threat is considered severe. Public events cancellation or increased security at large gatherings or critical infrastructure sites. So I mean, they could literally bring down the hammer on the people with one event now that they've already started putting in the minds of the people that there's a danger, getting the reaction of the people. Now they can come with the solution, which is to have the troops all over. Just, you know, like the scriptures say in 2 Ezra 15, a man shall desire to go into a city and shall not be able. If they have a so-called threat, and you know, a city next to you, they decide to shut the whole city down, or shut your whole city down, and they'll have troops at, you know, at the on the highways and at certain points, certain routes that you can't go in, you know, to and fro freely, and the event would be basically a justification for that to happen, you know. Says law enforcement raids and arrest. Says preemptive actions. The FBI may conduct raids, detain individuals under suspicion, or indict them under T-related charges. I mean, so, and that's up to the discretion of these devils, whoever they deem a threat. Says material support laws. Citizens suspected of aiding sleeper cells, even unknowingly, could be prosecuted under laws prohibiting material support to T organizations. So there's all types of things that can happen just from one event. Political and social tensions, profiling, and discrimination. Minority communities, especially those from regions associated with T threats, might face increased scrutiny, profiling, and even hate crimes, just like what happened after 9/11, man. You know how they was going after Muslims and everybody, you know, all these different people were talking shit, pushing them around, and you know, so you could already see how this could easily turn out. Public fears, media coverage, and government warnings could lead to fear or panic, especially if alerts are issued, like DHS threat levels. Now check this out.
TV, Indiana's only statewide TV news network. This is breaking news. Breaking tonight, the State Department issuing a worldwide security alert after Iran vows to retaliate against the United States.
That's right. Officials recommending all Americans take precautions when traveling anywhere overseas tonight, saying there could be retaliation against Americans because of the U.S.'s strikes on Iran. The agency says air travel across the Middle East has been interrupted because of the conflict.
And the Department of Homeland Security also warning of potential cyber attacks from Iran this evening, or other lone wolf attacks here in the U.S. While Iran has yet to retaliate against the United States.
And there goes that, you know, cyber attacks they keep mentioning. And they, you know, they're putting this fear in the people that, you know, all of that they have on their, you know, in their bank accounts and you know, social media, all these different digital things could one day shut down, which would justify them having to say, oh, well, in order for security reasons, we're going to have to reset everything and start all over, you know? And that's all of this is all tying in, and it's all leading to the MO to the TV, man. So at the same time this is all happening, people aren't making enough money. The price of everything is going up. This whole thing with Iran wanting to close the Strait of Hormuz, which I believe it's a fifth of the world's oil goes through. So that's going to cause the price of gas to go up even more, which means the price of food would have to go up more because it's going to cost the truckers more money to, you know, to pay for the gas to drive it over to the stores. So, you know, as they say, shit rolls downhill. If they got to pay more, then it goes all the way down. The store got to pay more, which means the consumer got to pay more. So all the people could still make some kind of a profit, but that's all at the, you know, the consumers on their dime, you know what I mean? Which would lead into universal basic income. So this is optimistic plan would pair universal legal identity with basic income program. So basically, there's a digital ID linking it to money, right? And this is how everything's all tying in and leading it to the MO to the TV, which is the RFID CHIP, that implantable rice device that you will not be able to buy or sell unless you have it. And so all of these different events that are happening, different you know, wars and rumors of wars, all of these different things that are happening are all leading to the same end goal. And we know that World War III can't come until the MO to the TV is implemented or forced on the people. So with you know, that would be an event would be a perfect way for them to usher in this MO to the TV, man. Everything that's been happening, you know, people complaining they can't make ends meet. You know, they got people used to trying to work from home, so people are already used to not even wanting to go out. They order everything online, which is everything that these devils want. They want everybody to stay in their little 15-minute cities, in their little cubicles or whatever, and just play games and watch TV all damn day and eat bugs, man. That's how sick these devils are, man. And then have a C-hip inside of them so they can be tracked and traced. And if they ever want to get out of line, then they could just turn their C-hip off, man. That's what it's all coming down to, because you're not going to be able to afford anything, you know. Because as the prices keep going up, people aren't making no more money. Robots are replacing the jobs. You know, scriptures say they should wake up at the sound of the bird, and the grinding is low. So there's less and less jobs, so there's more and more dependence on the government. And that's how that's the plan for these devils, man. That's the plan, to get everybody, you know, on this system, you know, and, you know, pretty much force the people to, you know, basically worship the beast, man, you know, to trust in and go down to Egypt for help, because they won't have it. The devil is basically making it that there's no other option for these people. There's no hope for these people. But all praise to Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi, that we have hope, man. The scriptures say, my servant shall eat, my servant shall drink. They shall want, you know, want for nothing, roughly paraphrasing, man. You know, we shall rejoice and be merry and have abundance, while everybody else is starving and struggling and dying off, man. You know? That's why it's so important to do these lessons and let your brothers and sisters know, man, the line is being drawn in the sand, man. You know? And you have to choose what side you want to be on. You're gonna trust and have faith in Yahawah, Bahasham, Yahawashi. You're gonna trust in the oppressor, man. You know, you're gonna trust in the one that smote you, the one that's putting all this hell on you. You know, are you gonna trust in them to take care of you, the same one that's trying to destroy you? What sense does that make? Or are you gonna trust in the Holy One of Israel, man, the one that's giving the warning through his men and letting you know of the things that are coming, and giving you a way out of it, offering salvation, you know? And we hope and pray that we're of that precious number of the elect, man, to be delivered from these said calamities, from the grips of this devil, man. So let me see. Yeah, this is pretty lengthy. I just kind of wanted to just mention it. Let me read. Let me see. Maybe, well, actually, you know what, Lord's will, I'm gonna do a lesson just on this one, because it's pretty lengthy, you know, and I kind of want to get some key points and everything. But, you know, I just wanted to you know, give warning of the things to come, man, because, you know, these devils are you know, ready to make a move, man. Let me just read a little bit of this, and I'll close out a little bit more. Yeah, so he talks about the Patriot Act after 9/11. So yeah, so I'll get in summary, most American citizens would likely experience more scrutiny at airports or public spaces, possibly more surveillance, which would, you know, make perfect sense, because they already would have it justified. If the borders are talking about there's 2 million plus people just in the country. There's you know, last I heard 330 million people. So if 2 million people are just randomly all over the place, that's their justification for monitoring everybody, for having troops all over the, you know, in different cities and different neighborhoods and streets and what have you, and, you know, basically checkpoints and facial scans and all these different things, man. This is how they're gonna use, you know, some kind of crisis to usher these things in, man. You know, and through the spirit, I feel like something major is gonna happen soon, man. You know, it says general unease or tension in daily life. So that's what we call Jacob's trouble. A time such as never been since there was a nation, man. Citizens with specific backgrounds or connections, especially from countries linked to the suspected sleeper cells, might face more serious impacts, including questioning, detention, or even arrest. So they can justify just rounding people up, you know. Yeah, so that's pretty much it, man. Let me just close out on since I quoted it, Jeremiah 30. Start at 6, and it reads, "Ask ye now, and see whether a man doth travail with child. Wherefore do I see every man with his hands on his loins, as a woman in travail, and all faces are turned into paleness, man. So complete fear is gonna be on the faces of the people, man. Alas, for that day is great, so that none is like it. It is even the time of Jacob's trouble, but he, meaning the elect, shall be saved out of it, man. So we're indeed coming into some heavy times, you know, in the near future. But Bahasham Yahawashi will indeed take care of, you know, their elect, man. So that's pretty much it. You know, I hope and pray that this lesson was edifying to the elect. In closing, I want to thank Bahasham Yahawashi once again for putting the spirit on me to do this lesson. And I want to give all praises, honor, and glory to Yahawah, Bahasham Yahawashi, Bahasham Rakal. I want to give double honor to the apostles and the elders of GMS who teach and rule well, who taught me this truth. Salutations, you brothers and sisters out there listening and learning. Fighting's good fight of faith. Keep fighting, keep striving, keep pushing. We're almost out of here. And salutations, my fellow brethren that are pushing this word in all truth and sincerity. To you all, I'm going to say shalom. I'll say abba ball and kwam yasharala. Hey, shalom. To the next one.